Welcome to Columbus and Clipper Stadium, Huntington Stadium.
Give me your number one moment as a player and your number one moment as a fan.
Pitching 2 no-hitters in a row in Little League. As a fan, it had to be the 2016 World Series with Connie and my children and my daughters when Rajai Davis hit a 2-run homer. And then the rain delay came and the world went to hell. The Indians lost in extra innings and Hillary lost the election, but the same week, oh well.
Several of your colleagues in states that President Trump won comfortably are in trouble this election year. You're in one of those states, but you're not in trouble. Explain that.
I don't look at voters as Trump voters or Clinton voters. I don't look at workers or white workers or black workers. I talk about workers, and I think in the end, it's whose side are you on? And I urge my colleagues always, and I hope if there are Democratic majorities, whenever there are, next year or beyond, that we really do focus on the dignity of work, and that is making sure that people who work, get up every day, work hard, play by the rules, have a decent standard of living, that their wages go up, that their health care benefits are adequate, that they have some retirement, and that we have to at the same time make sure we keep health care costs down. And there's no interest in doing that in Washington now. Their interest is more tax cuts for the rich, more cuts in Medicare. That's morally reprehensible and it's bad economics, and they all should be ashamed of themselves for that.
Now, one thing that distinguishes you from your Democratic colleagues is that you have affirmatively worked with Trump on a major policy issue, and we're talking about trade. Every recent president in both parties and every economist that I talk to have said that, for example, tariff policies make no sense economically, that they cost more jobs than they save. Why are you with him on that
Well,
issue?
respectfully, you need to talk to a wider swath of economists. I think you got to spool back, and economists don't do this because economists often have a pretty cloistered existence in their lives. If you drive through the industrial Midwest and Central Valley of California too, you will see example after example of how a company shut down production in Mansfield, my hometown, or Toledo or Dayton, moved overseas, build a plant there and collected a tax break to do it because our tax and trade policy has played into that for decades. And no president was willing to address it. Tariffs are a temporary enforcement tool. They're not a long-term trade policy. I would have done it differently from the president. I would not have called it a trade war. I would have explained to the American public what, in fact, he was doing for the end outcome to deal with Chinese cheating, basically. I would have aimed our tariffs not at our allies, Canada and Western Europe.
Isn't the lesson of the modern world that is continuously in one direction, that is toward the freer movement of people and capital, and aren't you basically trying to make water flow uphill?
The laws of economics haven't worked for much of this country in terms of industrial jobs, in terms of working class people, regardless of race. It's easy for a professor to preach that. It's maybe even a little fun for the media to echo that, but the fact is that
Bill Clinton and Barack Obama share your values.
They were wrong. They share my values. I share their values. They were wrong on trade.
When you have presidents of both parties, one party that's more fundamentally close to business, the other close to labor, it tells me that when those Democratic presidents get in and have responsibility for the nation, they see that for the nation as a whole, expanded trade is good.
Well, if both presidents of each party are in the same place, does that justify the Vietnam War? I mean, I don't think because presidents in both parties were in the same place, that makes a good policy. You think trade has nothing to do with the fact that the 1% are getting richer and richer and richer? In this country, you're seeing profits go up, you're seeing executive compensation go up sharply, you're seeing productivity go up and wages are flat. A big part of the reason wages are flat is because we have not done globalization well. We've not taken care of people who have lost their jobs. We have not fought for labor rights and environmental rights. In this country, I wear this pen. It's a depiction of a canary in a birdcage. It was given to me at a Workers' Memorial Day. It symbolizes the mine worker and the canary, but it symbolizes the role of government to help middle-class people and to build and to create and build a middle class.
White House just put out a report the other day attacking socialism and linking Democrats and Democratic proposals to socialism. Is it a dirty word?
It's a political calculation that's poll tested by Karl Rove and whoever is the new Karl Rove in the Republican Party. it's pretty meaningless in terms of the way we do our jobs. I mean, I want government on the side of the public. I want government to respect the dignity of work and advocate for workers. I don't really care about labels. I never look left or right.
You're not scared of that word?
No, I'm not. I don't think voters think about that stuff. You stand for workers. You stand. It's whose back do you have? It's whom do you fight for and what you fight against.
Is Medicare for all socialism?
No, I mean Medicare. I think the better way to do health care is to allow, and I've worked on this for years, to allow Medicare buy-in at 55. Look who's most hurt by and who is most vulnerable in health care. It's a 58 or a 61-year-old man or woman in Dayton who has lost her job because her plant closed. She's 58, she can't find insurance, and it's a point in her life when her health's getting bad, especially if she worked construction or in a factory or worked in a diner or worked in a hair salon and was on her feet all day. And that's when they need Medicare.
Is that still what you're for?
Absolutely.
Is buying at 55?
Absolutely.
Not Medicare for all?
I have not co-sponsored. I don't oppose Medicare for all. But I don't think we get there now. I think what we do is we do Medicare at 55, it's voluntary, it's a buy-in, you can do it fiscally responsibly, and give that 58-year-old laid-off woman in Zanesville, Ohio, a chance to buy into Medicare at a reasonable price at that age.
One of the reason I asked the question about socialism is there does seem to have been a shift in the Democratic debate. When Obama was president, one of his aides told me one time we weren't allowed to use the word redistribution, even though things like Obamacare did redistribute money from people who paid taxes for it to people who got benefits. You, Senator Harris, and others have proposed major redistribution of money to people through the Earned Income Tax Credit or other vehicles. Is that something that you see as now politically saleable, and why is that?
I always have. I mean, the real masters at redistribution are Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, who redistribute income up. That's what they do. They have taken a tax system.
Understood, but it's proven easier to do that by cutting someone's taxes than by having government write a check to someone. That's just been their political reality.
That's their political reality. I'm surprised you buy into it, John.
What I'm saying is that has proven more politically achievable.
Well, it's politically achievable because because Washington is rigged in the sense that you can always give a tax. Washington can always pass a tax cut for rich people because who are most members of Congress? Many of them are millionaires. Who are most lobbyists? Where's the lobbying? As you may know, John, there aren't a lot of people walking around the halls of Congress that are advocating for workers at the local diner in Garfield Heights. They're advocating for the big power companies and the big drug companies in Wall Street.
But do you think the table is set politically for Democrats to embrace in a full-throated way that kind of redistribution?
I don't think of it in terms of, you use the word redistribution. To me, it's fairness. You know, people that work in a diner, people that cut hair, people that work construction, they work every bit as hard as you do and I do. Mm-hmm. And they get so little to show for it, and they have a government that's not on their side so often. And I don't call that redistribution. I call it justice. I call it fairness. It's what our government should be.
Senator Warren has a proposal to do that more indirectly by requiring, as a condition of corporate charter, worker representation on corporate boards, which would not require government outlays. What do you think of that idea?
That's fine. I support anything that gets us there. I also have a bill that I didn't present to the president called the Freeloader Fee Act, and that says when a company that's got not a diner with 30 or 40 employees, but a big company of over X number of people have when they pay so little that their workers are eligible for Medicaid, food stamps, housing vouchers, and earned income tax credit, that they should pay a freeloader fee. They should reimburse taxpayers for their low wages. A company that is making a lot of money, their executives are making $6, $8, $10 million a year, their workers are paid so little that government subsidizes their workers. Mm-hmm. Those companies should have to pay a penalty for that.
Your election's in a little over a week. Immediately, there's going to be a lot of talk and action toward the 2020 race. Senator Warren says she's going to take a hard look at it after election. It seems clear she's going to run. What is your thinking on that issue?
I'm thinking that Senator Warren's probably going to run. Was that your question?
Are you thinking that Senator Brown's going to run?
I don't really. I don't like the idea of running for president. I don't really have any real interest in that.
You said to one of your home state newspapers, you think about it from time to time, and you get people talking to you about it.
No news on this story. Sorry. My wife and I are gonna, and my kids and grandkids. We spent the evening with them last night. We're going to spend more time with them after the election. I don't aspire to be president of the United States, and I know my name's mentioned. It's mentioned because I win in a Trump state. Here's what I hope comes out of this election. First of all, I hope to win. Second, I hope that Rich Cordray, who would be a really good governor, I hope he wins in the Democratic ticket. And third, I hope the message that I win with, the dignity of work and whose side are you on, and it's whom you fight for and what you fight against. I'm hopeful that gets into the national debate because plenty of my colleagues want to be president a lot more than I do.